Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron 4 with Black Ice, and of course we're playing as Japan, as you can tell from the thumbnail and this. Now, I want to ask you guys something, to do something for me, if you would. Would you please give this video a thumbs up and post just something, say hi, literally the letters HI or hello or anything else. If you don't have anything particular to say, I would really like it if you just posted something like that in the comments below. Recently, one of my videos somehow got recommended, you know, on your right side over here of your screen, got into a suggested video of some other non-Hearts of Iron thing there. I noticed a huge, just in a couple hours, about 130 more views, and it all came from that one video source on YouTube. So this really confirms a thought that I've long had, that, and you guys, I presume you guys that are routinely watching this channel do have, because it shows up for me as well, my videos in your suggested video lists on the side of videos. But I really don't think YouTube is pushing it out to many other similar gaming videos, you know, whether it's a Hearts of Iron 4 or 3 or other just military and strategy in World War II. But if the more engagement a video like this gets, the more the YouTube, and it's not a person sitting in YouTube's offices somewhere, it's all the algorithm. So if you just hit that like button, and if you just hit now, because not all of you make it to the end when I normally ask you, this is why I'm asking you up front, if you just post a nice, preferably nice comment, just post something below right now before we go on. I would really appreciate that, to see if we can boost the viewership of the channel up significantly. I would really love it if you would. Thank you so much. Okay, well, we're going to continue this. So, like I say that, let's get the clock moving. We're moving about as fast as we can here as we're building up our Empire of Japan. Now, we've set up a fast-moving cavalry corps, if you will. A sort of somewhat modernized with light armor. These aren't really because these light infantry, regular infantry, these really aren't fast-moving armored divisions. Anglo-Irish trade war ends, good for them. But it's a sort of a brigade, because these are battalions, brigade situation with some tanks and armored car type support elements, which makes them a little better than just, because if you don't have good anti-tank weapons, the tanks sort of fool. So it's not a mobile, it's more of a modernistic type force. Okay, well, we've been expanding, which has been good, our civil industry. Let's expand our military production, and we will be first instance taking on China, so we want to make sure we have enough military equipment there, though we are getting through here, expanding our naval dockyards by 2 and our civilian factory slots by 2, which will help out for both of those. And mentioning that, look over at production here. Okay, okay, so we've been able to focus some. Let's heavily focus on that, get that done, and then once that is done, let's get these guys. They're partway through production, just get them down, concentration. Okay, we have stormtrooper tactics. So that ends this tree, and we can also come over here and look, which is important. We want to get to here. You can see down there at the bottom of the screen, we need machine gun, infantry coordination, rolling barrage, aircraft artillery observation, telecommunications, and tank infantry artillery coordination. So now, we need to get to here. telecommunications, and we need to get to here. So let's get these guys going. The lower fertility rate in the West, I would say, is not sex ed. I would say it is a cultural thing. In China, very much to this day, they are, hey, thanks for following the channel. I do appreciate that. And anybody else who would like to follow, I really love you to hit the follow button there. That in China, they have the one-child policy, which has really harmed. I mean, I understand some of the original needs for the one-child policy, that they were afraid of a population explosion, and they didn't have literally the food capacity to produce it at the time, because they were doing stupid things like trying to industrialize China by everybody in their backyard, almost literally in their backyard, trying to make steel, some other really stupid stuff going on. Which caused famine and other things. But now that China is modernizing, industrializing, and not just in a few industrial centers, but throughout the country, they can expand their food production. But they are very worried in China about, because there isn't an old age security policy from the government in China. They rely upon their children to take care of them in their old age. So that they want to have, and they're now opening up the birth rate policy, but culturally they see if having some children will support them in their old age. You go to a lot of other countries in which child labor is still an acceptable thing, and as I've said before, child labor is not in and of itself a bad thing. Yes, I watched some good documentaries on the child labor, particularly focusing in Britain in the 19th century, and it was horrific. But that's because child labor in the 18th century was mostly working for mom and dad, either on the farm or in their, I don't know, little shoemaking shop or some sort of family business, moving from that into working into horrific factories, but it was even more horrific for children. So it's how child labor is worked. Most of the world is still sort of on the farm or in sort of family sort of business and enterprises. So children are looked at as an economic positive. Where in most Western societies, and I would include this in Japan and other places, in Japan and some places, children may do more chores around the home and other things, but they are an economic liability in that they are being specialized education, that's focused their education through their childhood. They're, especially in America, it's every child goes to university is the ideal. Now, of course, the ideal for that is for indoctrination to be a lefty, but you want to go through that. So how many children in America can you afford to put to college through university? Can you put 4? No. Do you just put the eldest? Or do you just put the one that gets the best grades when all of them may be able to be accepted into college? So that, I would say, is why population levels have gone down. It's because the ability to afford the children has gone up in many Western countries. And I think that'll change as soon as the economics change. Expand the Mitsubishi Zaibatsu. Okay, good. Now we're going to do the Mitsui Zaibatsu. And that, and excavation, great. Infrastructure, construction speed, civilian works, weekly stability. We're gonna wait for that because I don't want to use up those too much. Let's come over here and we're going to. We'll wait for our armor. Okay, we'll wait for that. We'll give it a little bit of time for that to get to. Go up over, so now we've got that. Let's grab here. And then let's come over here and research that, so it'll be quicker. And we have the Osaka Arsenal behind it. Research. I mean, as soon as it becomes economically beneficial to have more children, IKB, as soon as that changes, as soon as like, oh my god, I get to sell children so I can buy my children and sell them on the open market? No, obviously that's ridiculous. But as soon as it becomes like, the more children I have, the more money I'll make for some reason, then we'll have more children. Unless you're going to have an ideological movement. There's one group in America that has a very strong ideological movement for large families. And they do have large families because of that. And it's all down to ideology. I hate to say this, but another ideological movement in the recent Western history has obviously been Nazi Germany for large families. Now, they also gave economic incentives, partially by government giving money for having children. So as soon as the economics change, and I don't know how that would necessarily be in a Western society, because we are moving to more automated production abilities, and you know, we see in America now a very slowly, very minuscule, but automated driving ability, and people are constantly saying, oh, in 10 years all the big 18-wheelers on the roads are going to be automated drivers. Well, I don't quite think it's going to happen that fast, but it's going to happen. So all of those drivers are going to lose their jobs, or most of them will. Now, a lot of drivers that drive trucks also unload trucks. Now, they use the sort of pallet jacks and whatever. It isn't like handing one box out at a time and a lot of sweaty labor, but it's a little bit of labor. So obviously, where you're delivering your goods to, they'll have to be able to have some people there unloading it. And yes, some of that can be done robotically, but you'll need a whole sort of robot setup. But getting it up to where the 18-wheelers are driven robotically, I think they can actually get it safer overall. There will, of course, be big headlines where, you know, robot truck smashes family van, killing 10 children or something like that. That will obviously happen. But my point is that instead of that happening once a week, it's happening 10 times a week or something, you know, America-wide. So it'll happen. It'll still happen, but it'll happen fewer. And so the overall traffic statistics of deaths will go down, I do believe, when we get automated drivers. Now, even though that's going to put out a lot of people out of work, you still got to have a lot of maintenance people. And I don't know quite if you want to have an automated gassing station in which an automated truck pulls up and then a machine comes out. You know, sort of maybe want a human there, because handling fuel is a sort of a... You need to be situationally aware. So there's, you know, danger points. I don't know. So there's still going to be human activity in economic terms, but we are going to be seeing a massive shift in the West in the use of labor. And I think some of the farming, mass farming needs will go away. I don't know if Dan is still around, but obviously in the ranching world, you don't need as many people per cow as you did in 1900, but you still need a certain amount of people per cow on a ranch to handle all the stuff. And so it's going to shift. I don't know how that's going to deal with our population. It may mean the no longer needs for having people to have jobs, that will have enough money because there'll be enough robotics going on. And so that may happen, or it may mean mass unemployment and mass starvation. I don't know, but it's going to happen. And what's going to really sort of strain some people's ideologies, the lefties, and it's going to strain the views, because we still have parts of the world that have high birth rates, that we're going to have huge populations in Africa and maybe very low populations in Europe. But the Europeans will be able to go, we've got a navy, we can stop you from coming. And I think they'll militarily be able to stop the mass migrations, but there's going to be relatively empty parts of the planet and relatively full parts of the planet. The full parts are going to be poor. And that's going to affect people's view of things. And I don't know how it's going to turn out. Okay, so we've gotten through... yes, here we are. Let's go for tank infantry artillery coordination now. The world is changing, folks. The world is changing. Since we have a long path through here, and we're going to focus on getting to here, we'll come back maybe at some points and doing some of these other tactics. Okay, I think it dispersed industry. Good, that will help. 37. Okay, we're going to wait the approximately, what, 29 days till 37 to... I think that'll be the most, because we'll get credit for all these days, but there'll be sort of credit in 37. Expand the Mitsubishi. Okay, now promote rivalry between the big two. Chinese border incident, that will happen pretty quick, and then we can go to there. Southern focus, 70 days. Yes, we want to do some of that. I know we've skipped that. Let's look over here. Imperial austerity, consumer goods, 70 days. For your tradition. That's very good, and it's 35 days, so let's get that going. And we have free military factories. Let's look at what we need equipment-wise. Okay, small arms, artillery trucks. We need artillery trucks and armored cars. And naval fighters. Oh. Let's grab... Oh, well, do we already have them? Oh, no, I don't think we had them in production. That's why we need them yet. Just... approved infantry trucks, yes, okay. And we also need artillery trucks. The ships, and which are using a lot of our oil needs, but that increases even more so our need for oil. There we go. Yes, refineries would help. You're right about that, IKB. I just don't know if culturally they're going to be able to make the choices to get richer. You know, are they culturally going to want to lower their birth rates? Are they going to want to embrace capitalism? Because we can see that wherever you have capitalism, you have better economic situations over time. And then you can see where socialism tries to sponge off of it and ruins it. So, yeah, I don't know what they're going to do with all of that. I would hope so. We can see, like, I think a lot of socks, t-shirts, and other things in the U.S. are made in Bangladesh. And they're actually undercutting, because it's cheaper labor, I think, primarily, China for those. Because they had been a lot of that stuff made in China. So they're getting... now, and I don't know how overall... how Bangladesh is doing from some of this trade, how much it's getting out into the populace. I'm sure some people are getting good are better jobs than they would have had otherwise, and I'm sure some people are getting rich off of it, the owners of the factories and whatnot. So I'm sure it's doing some good. It's better than a sharp stick in the eye, but I don't know how much it's really changing things, and how much, obviously you got Bangladesh, which is sort of a problem in that it's a river delta being fed by a bunch of rivers, so it gets flooded and cyclones, and so you have geographic problems with Bangladesh. But that sort of push Bangladesh down, if you will. That's nobody's fault. It's just the way nature is. So I don't know if they can dig themselves out of it. Okay, we can improve the government here. Political advisor. We already have fascist demagogue. Okay, sympathetic judge, political power gain, +8, consumer goods. Ooh, that's nice. I think that's who we want to do. Political power gain. %15 political power. I like this, that it lowers consumer goods needs and also political power gain. So we'll grab you. And you don't look very Chinese or Japanese. No, I disagree with you, IKB. Most people will just try to do whatever they know how to do over and over again. People aren't easy to change. They just really aren't. Culture is buried deep within humanity. Okay, we want to come here. Grab that. That'll happen very fast, of course. Why disperse industry? Quite honestly, it was mostly because of this. They already had this done, ships workshops, and I'd have to sort of start over down this path. And so since it did this, it also sort of said historical. So I don't know if this was the best choice, but I just sort of went with it. Okay, that fills all of our research slots. Okay, more than 100 or 10,000 pieces of HQ equipment available. New army organization. Okay, so we've got this. Good. And warrior traditions. Very good. Now, yeah, because we can get down here, naval dockyard. So we'll grab this. We'll cancel. There's some other imperial austerity. No. Yeah, put plus. That's good. That's good too. But I think we want to start on this. That will help our production in various ways. Well, I'm poking the US. Well, no. It's not such a good idea. The best idea for Japan is to sit here peacefully and attack nobody. I think you could almost win the game by that way. Staying out of the Axis, attacking nobody. I don't think the Soviets will invade. The Germans won't invade. I guess theoretically, if the German AI conquers everything else, it might. But the best policy, is just to be peaceful in the world here. Defend yourself from, the Soviet Union lost a lot of credibility with the world for taking the Baltic states and taking Poland, a little bit for the Romanian territory, but taking its half of Poland. The only thing that really saved its credibility was desperate need of Britain to have, once Germany invaded. But there's a lot of, if you look at the propaganda going on that I'm increasingly trying to find, dealing out of Western countries, in the period between the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact and then the week later the invasion of Poland, and thank you, motorcycle, and during that period and to the start of Barbarossa, Germany and the Soviet Union are cast together as evil, power-hungry countries that are taking over the world, and are both seen in a very, very bad light. The only real difference was that the Soviet Union wasn't actively at war with Britain and France. And now that's about it. And so that they're really seen together as an evil element. It is only after the German invasion of the Soviet Union do you start getting positive Soviet press outside of the Soviet Union. So, that sort of taints the Soviet Union. So, but outside of that, mostly, if you don't invade anybody, you can sort of do kind of good. Yes, exactly. It's boring to play and it's boring to watch. So, let's see. I want to build some of these here because these build research pretty quickly, but I didn't want to waste one of my half-offs on one of these for research time. So let's come back to here and, well, actually, let's come over here because we want to get to there to get more resources. So yeah, this first. So yeah, so I want to challenge America. I want to see if we can defeat America, the at least naval, defeat America's fleets. We're gonna get through these guys. And so that's what I want to do. So no, it isn't the best thing to do. Okay, well, we can't yet. I need to research some synthetics to be able to build them, but it is a very good idea. And we can improve our government some more. Well, let's look at our aircraft factories because we're going to get close to building. Okay, so Kawasaki was an Army, I believe, Army has completed the focus, Army Air Innovation. It's the Army models. Mitsubishi was for the naval. Production for naval fighter types. Build cost. I would like these to either be a lot cheaper so that you're bouncing around as you decide to research different models. Maybe not like every model, because sometimes you may have multiple models in research at a time, but to do that. But since it is expensive as it is, partially by obviously by design, I'm looking at all of this. Build cost goes down, reliability goes up, air research time. Yeah, let's just go for Mitsubishi. Yeah, I don't know if I would steamroll everybody as the Soviets. The reason I don't know is because I just never played them. If you have enough resources, manpower and production, you could build up a hell of an army and crush Europe. Never go into any sort of alliance with the Western powers and just crush them all. Part of the reason I pick the countries that I pick, and part of the and for the episodes or countries I pick to play for the series is based on what I can talk about. And so the more interesting things I have to talk about, the more I think people are going to want to watch, the more I'm going to enjoy playing them. So that is sort of, that heavily influences what I play. So I don't have, I'm sitting here, I'm thinking of things I could say about the Soviet Union, but I don't have a lot to say about the Soviet Union. It comes from a combination of not knowing a lot about the Soviet Union and not having a lot of interest in it. So that's, and I do get, and it is a very interesting, shall we say, game playing challenge to pick a country just to play it. And in that sense, I'd be fine playing the Soviet Union. If you just want to watch me play a country. But like before, I gave sort of, I hope, an interesting lecture on sort of the way Japan viewed itself and viewing that it had to secure things to secure the national interest. So, which is very important to understanding why Japan did what it did in the general, we've got to expand thing. It wasn't like Nazi Germany, we've just got to have this living room, so we've got to go in and conquer it. It wasn't an ideological thing, we've got to defeat communism, so we got to go in and conquer it. So that's sort of two things you get for invading the Soviet Union as Germany. It's really more of wanting to create a protective sphere around it and secure the needed resources to ensure Japan's national security. Now, obviously, I don't know. IKB, that could be an interesting thing. It'd be maybe a little bit longer series than playing as Poland, playing as Finland. Maybe we'll do that sometime. I'll keep it in mind. Keep poking me once in a while about it. Let's see. So we've got that, and we still have more factories available. Get these carriers built. And 35 days gain conquer forces United Kingdom. Okay, so we don't want to do that right now. We want to do that when we're ready. Chinese border, and so we're not really ready there. We need to start expanding our military production. Artillery battalion, promote rivalry between, increase national research time, factory output. Yes, let's do that. I really sort of, well, we mentioned that. Let's, oh. Let's do that. Create a bulk of our army. Let's train up a division and one of each of these guys. Let's put these guys down here. We'll get to training some more marine units once we can. Gotta expand. Oh, good to hear, Django. I know you've been reading up on the topic a lot, or I mean, just generally Barbarossa. So have you gotten to the idea of where or why they didn't make better preparations for the railway gauge thing? I mean, like really make, you know, not just ad hoc, oh hell, what are we going to do now, but, you know, why they didn't do that? Because even if you look at Barbarossa as, oh, we're going to crush them in, you know, 90 days and it's going to be over. Okay, great. I'd like to see it sometime. Maybe not so much now, but sometime I really would like to see some more on that. Okay. Radios, yes. And, oh, we still have even more, so we're burning through these quickly. Yeah, let's get all of these guys done as fast as possible. And we now have more. So, that'll expand that. And, well, we need more transport, more infantry equipment. More of all of that. Okay, submachine guns. Artillery trucks, and then also armored cars. Very interesting, Django. Very interesting. Tool maintenance, good. Maintain your tools. Okay. And let's look at some of our governmental policies. Key industrialized. We have a large enough army for right now. So, this looks good for our carriers. Armored carrier models or any aircraft. Yeah. I think that would be a good choice. I so want railroads in this game. I also want it in Hearts of Iron 3, but I so want railroads. It's so important. I learned the importance of railroads looking at some of the war games I was playing of the American Civil War, and controlling the railroads, especially in the South, is of critical importance. And so they are such a big thing. Hindenburg disaster, all right. And I wish I had a good way to poke the Hearts of Iron, or the Hearts of Iron 4 developers into seeing the need for them. Okay, so we are sort of done with this until we get to there, until 38. Okay, paratrooper mountain warfare equipment. Yeah, it doesn't have to be overly complicated, the railroads. Meaning, let's just say that railroads came from this province through to this province, and then they went through both these two provinces, but they didn't connect. Well, I'm not saying that they have to, manage every single connection. But, and I guess what I'm saying is if, say, the enemy invade here, and the only way that this province here connects through this one up through here, and this province railway doesn't connect through here, but it connects this way. Who cares whether there was an actual connection? Now, the Japanese mountains and whatever, you might be able to argue that some of these provinces really shouldn't, and I'd have to look at a map more carefully, shouldn't connect to each other. But it just whether each province should, it doesn't have a railroad in. And then what level? My initial thought is 1 through 3, little bit, medium, and a lot. You could do a 1 through 10. And then the other big thing is all strategical deployment of troops, units, all have to start, move along, and stop on a connected railway line. So you can't rush troops, you can get if there's no railway, they've got to march. And then affect supplies and other things, how supply levels and other things like that. I think is an important thing. No, what? No. Oh, cancel. Do we not have? Isn't this an open slot? Yeah. Okay, we're going to end the episode here, not the chat, not the stream, but the episode. I want to thank you all for watching. I want to thank you for liking the videos, and if you would, if you haven't already, please subscribe, and of course, if you would, please post comments, questions, suggestions, corrections. Love hearing from you. See you next time for more Hearts of Iron.